What's up, everybody? Good morning.
Hey,
Welcome
hey.
to the 511 Morning Show here with Blake Bernard, Tom Touchstone in Tennessee. And we're coming to you. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on today. And, thank you guys for being here. Want to let you know about some things. We got the global meltdown of IT. You guys may or may not have heard about it, but I'm sure it's going to be hitting us. We run an IT company as well as the media company, so that's going to be hitting us at some point today. I'm sure our guys over there are deep in it right now. We have some more stuff about the election. We're talking about the RNC. We're talking about so many other things. But I'm really pumped to have Blake in here with us this morning. And Blake, it's always an honor.
Hey, man, happy to be here. I get to be here on a really eventful week. So hopefully we don't run out of things to talk about. But the way that you pack these shows, I don't think there's any chance.
Right. Yeah. So real quick, I got to say, I forgot to bring my coffee over here. However, Covenant Coffee has been a longtime sponsor of ours. Go check them out online, covenantcoffee.org, or across the street, Mohawk in California. If you're in Bakersfield, Cloud 9 by Covenant Coffee, or in North Chester. They have excellent coffee. We're going to drop a link in the comments for y'all to go check them out online. But they provide jobs and opportunity and multiple other things for emancipated foster youth. They've been doing this for a long time, and we're proud to call them a partner in what we do because of what they stand for. So
love it.
Check them out online. Go check them out, and if you're in Bakersfield, go check them out across the street, or in North Chester and Oildale. And so Tom,
guys,
we were talking about this global IT meltdown, and Layla, I know you got some videos for us. So let's play the first one that we have. That's talking the longer one. You have that ready? I'll give you a second to get to it.
Okay, so I am located in California, Orange County. We're currently in the middle of this Microsoft outage. Computers are black. We have the screen of death. We do have wound camera phones that are iPhones, which we're allowed to give medications on. But other than that, we don't have access to patient charts. Our downtime computer is down. I work with Epic. Epic is now self-deleting off of the Microsoft computers when we're able to turn them on. But as soon as we turn them on, they turn back down. So that's where we're at right now.
So that was just a hospital that's telling us about their issues. But this is something, Tom, that I think, frankly, started earlier in the week. Did you hear, Blake, about the AT&T outage?
No, tell me more about it.
So there was a big AT&T hack that happened earlier this week, and it's interesting because the timing of everything, right? You look at the assassination attempt that happened Saturday, and you look at they have RNC going on that just finished last night. Just selected Donald Trump and JD Vance as the president and vice presidential candidates for the Republican Party. We've got a lot of things going on with Biden, which we'll get to later in the show. And as all of these things are happening, all of a sudden we're having a global IT meltdown.
Are you shocked?
No, I'm not.
I was listening to Tucker Carlson earlier this week. Who doesn't? And he was talking about it. Just the nation feels very different post what was it, Saturday? And Republicans, right? I mean, it was actually kind of like a rallying cry. Trump putting his fist in the air. Things feel different in this race. There's a lot of talk of Biden dropping out now, and it just seems like the momentum swung to a polar opposite, right? Or maybe not opposite, but all one way. Have you guys ever watched basketball? This is called a heat check, right? So like when a team's going on a scoring run, they're up 12 points, you got to call a timeout to kind of reset and kill the momentum. I mean, this is what they do at the end of the day. It's called espionage, guys. And so I don't think that any of this is really coincidence. I don't really believe in that. Tom, what do you think?
You know, I was telling Mike I dropped a morning pump for the mind. I do one called 1 Thessalonians 5:23, mind, body, spirit. And people got to think. I mean, this is something that if they don't think about this stuff, they're going to get hoodwinked. And that's a book that a guy's written, a guy named John Woo, and it's called Hoodwinked. It means that you're just going to kind of not realize what's going on. And there's too much. There's too much. Like Mike pointed out, you got the RNC, you've got the assassination attempt, you have the Secret Service saying they don't go on slopey roofs. If I want to laugh, I just go out and look slopey roofs up.
That's ridiculous.
And this girl has to. What's her name, Mike? She's got to step down. I mean,
I'm calling her Cheeto, but it's Cheetle.
I don't know. There again. I mean, every time I see Fauci's face, I just kind of think about the pandemic days. Get the vaccination, you'll never get the virus. Well, Joe Biden, I think, has got like 6 vaccinations, and guess what? He's sick again, or really is he?
Actually, we got a little clip on that. Layla, can you roll that clip?
Yeah, let's do that.
Vice President, or not Vice President, President Biden, talking about getting the vaccine. I sent it to you last night. You probably got it in there. I'm going to give her a second to find it because.
Oh well, let's keep talking because hey, there again, if you're going to believe this, that all this is happening by coincidence, it's a test run,
right?
You know what, Mike? You and I've talked about it many times before. What's a conspiracy theory? It's a conspiracy.
The difference between conspiracy theory and reality: 6 months.
6 months. Just give this Give it 6 months and play it out, baby. And hey, just watch. But Mike, this is the great thing because I've been talking to a lot of people. The thing that convinces them more than anything is the fact that it's happened. I mean, you can't make this up. If you say, "Hey, well." People were saying, Dan Bongino was saying they're going to try to kill Trump. And what they do, they try to kill Trump.
Yeah. If you guys think that it's not going to happen again, you guys think that they're not going to continue to try because there's a bigger conspiracy going on here. It's not just some random dude that came out and tried to shoot Trump. This goes far deeper than any of you guys watching want to admit or would like to believe. This goes into the deep state. There's a much bigger conspiracy, not just a theory. There's a much bigger conspiracy here, and I think more of it's going to continue to come out when Donald Trump gets in office. In the name of Jesus, that will happen. He's gonna do something to make a difference. And
Mike,
we had not that long ago Klaus Schwab, and I should have included this clip in today's show, but I didn't. So maybe we'll drop it for you guys tomorrow. Or Monday, because tomorrow's Saturday. But Klaus Schwab came out in 2020 talking about, hey, you think coronavirus was something? What if we had a global IT meltdown?
Right.
And I don't think that was a prediction. I think that was a warning. And this is something that they've been working on for a while. He more or less said that the coronavirus lockdown, shutdown, all of those things was a test run, was a trial run for what's to come. So when this is happening, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if it continues to happen. And frankly, as Christians, we shouldn't be surprised because the Bible says that this types of things. Now, clearly, back in the Bible times, make sure I clarify this. Back in the Bible times, they did not have computers. They didn't understand the technology. However, they said that there would be signs, and these are signs.
And if you want to talk about like what serves the globalists, companies like BlackRock, all these, you know what I mean, like a technological meltdown. And you guys are the IT guys; you would understand this way better than me. But I mean, my Neanderthal brain just sees that as like, hey, if we're trying to consolidate everything under one bank, one currency, one nation, one everything, they could sell that idea from a pulpit of security, right? Saying like things like this won't happen ever again, right? If you thought COVID was bad with all the inside trading and things leading up to that and how many pockets were padded there, what if we just turn the world upside down in the name of, hey guys, remember this crazy recession? I don't know what kind of global event this would cause.
We actually brought in an image of the owners of the CrowdStrike stock. Layla, if you can grab that one, that'd be amazing.
Follow the money.
It's all. What's interesting? I was thinking about this last night as I was watching the RNC and watching Donald Trump speak and watching several other things. I thought it was actually really cool because we watched the whole thing. My kids were actually really into it. Surprisingly,
really?
Yeah. And I mean, Michael. So Michael's very intelligent and he pays attention to what's going on. So but even my 6-year-old was like, dude, I want to watch this.
That's so cool.
Layla, bring up that slide. So here we have BlackRock and Vanguard being the two biggest owners of the CrowdStrike stock. And CrowdStrike is probably the largest cybersecurity company in the world right now. And so this affected CrowdStrike, this affected Microsoft. But Tom, as we talked about, this wasn't just an accident, because we've run IT. Tom, you've run IT. We've done this the same way for a very long time.
I would have been fired for something like this.
Oh, absolutely. And that's just one company, not a global meltdown. If this happened in one company, you would have been fired. If this happened in one of our clients' companies, and this was, I'm sure we're going to have some fallout to deal with. But if this happened in one of our client companies and something like that, it'd have been our fault. Absolutely, we'd be fired as a service provider. But these types of updates don't just get rolled out in mass like this.
Right.
So for them to be able to come out and say, "Hey, this was an update that caused this," BS. I don't believe it. The fact that this affected so many 911 hospitals,
airlines,
yeah. And it's not going to be resolved fully. They say they have a fix and they're rolling it out, but it's not going to be fully resolved till sometime next week. This couldn't be anything but intentional.
And the crazy thing is, we can say that, but they control the acronym agencies that would investigate this. So, I mean, you got a ladder that no one knows how it got there. They couldn't have been brought in a car. I got
a news flash on you on that one.
What's that one?
The news breaking news update on the ladder. There wasn't a ladder.
Ooh, who did they Photoshop a ladder in?
It's came out on news that there was not a ladder. There was not. The shooter, which we will not name, did not use a ladder to get on the roof.
He took the stairs.
He climbed up there by the air conditioner. This is like breaking brand new news.
Or he took the elevator.
Goodness sakes!
But he had the information that has been put out now is that he went on site to do mass casualties, not just to take out Trump, but he saw an opportunity, climbed on a roof that was too slopey for the Secret Service to be on, or too slopey for the local law enforcement to be on, but wasn't too slopey for some 19-year-old kid to be on, or however old he is. He was a kid, basically. I mean, he was enough of a kid that he was reported missing, right? So the fact that I've said from the beginning, I said from the first moment, Tom, that you sent me that text, I said there's more to this story, because this is a conspiracy, and we all know it.
I've talked to several law enforcement officials, and there again, I work with a foundation for mental health for first responders, and they are debunking it. And one of them says, crime scenes, especially something of this magnitude, you leave them around. I think they hosed off the roof from this crime scene. And I was like, they're like, hey, whoa, hold on a minute here. In this, you usually keep a crime scene of this magnitude around for a while. So, well, Mike, it is a conspiracy, and it's deep. And I don't think until I heard a comment too the other day that Donald Trump, when he got in the White House the first time, had no idea how deep the swamp was. Had no idea how putrid that swamp was in DC, but he's finding out now, because he was a nice guy. He left some of those guys around from the the Obama days.
Well, that was part of his problem. That's why he was less effective than he could have.
Yes, it was. But I can tell you what, he gets in now. Him and JD Vance, they're kicking some butt. And praise God to that.
Right.
It needs a good house cleaning. I mean, that's something that I don't think any organization has ever looked back at and said, hey, that was a bad thing. I mean, it's something you have to turn things around, right, Blake? I mean, you and I talk about your gym all the time. I run into people that say Blake fired me and he needed to.
Yeah, those are few and far between, but it's so true, man.
But that's a good thing.
I can imagine being in charge of as much as he was, and having an arm tied behind your back. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, especially given his temperament that he let those guys stick around. But you're right; it's got to be different the second time.
It does.
Yeah. So
it does.
So as we move forward, I do want to bring up Layla. Can you roll the Believers video?
Every major question you might be wrestling with, there is an answer in the Word of God.
Amen.
Abraham was tested. Many of you are going through a test right now. I guarantee it. What did Abraham say when his life was hard and he was tested? Here I am. What's
Here I am.
different about Christianity is that it's a gift for all of humanity to receive, regardless of everything that we have done. Grace is not earned. It is given by a God who loves you and wants to spend eternity with you. It is the most important decision you can make in your life. And your life will be transformed. You will be born again. Comfort and Christianity sometimes come to a head. In fact, we are called to get uncomfortable as believers and Christians. If you are comfortable, you're not doing Christianity right. We believe in a strong church. And if we're serious about saving this country, we need to get back to the source of where that inheritance came from, the Word of God, and our true citizenship, which is in heaven. And it starts with all of you.
I get inspired like a sermon every time I hear that video, Mike.
Yeah, that's a good video. They did a great job with it. And I want to let you guys know, if you're out there watching, you're interested, you at least get inspired or fired up about watching this video. Renata Da Silva and I will be at Believer Summit. We're going to have a booth. We're going to be live streaming from there. We're going to be doing this show from there. We're going to be having a lot of dynamic guests there, but we also have something really cool to offer for all of our viewers, all of our listeners. Number one is 25% off of any purchase for Believer Summit with the code 51125. When you go to register, just use code 51125 for 25% off. And number two, we have a opportunity to give away some tickets for Believer Summit, for the VIP session, for the VIP lounge, for VIP access, backstage, and all of those things. So with the VIP, you're going to have an opportunity to rub shoulders with all of the speakers, with a lot of really important people, with people that are like-minded. Go ahead and send that code out, Layla. We're going to have that in the comments for you guys. And you guys will get to participate. Make sure when you're there to say hi to me. Make sure to say hi to Renata. We will be doing some really cool stuff there. But what this reminds me of, Tom, is last night, and I had some comments that I wanted to make about last night, the RNC, because we were watching. My daughter was watching, my son was watching, my youngest son was watching, and everybody was just sitting there. And there were so many really cool moments there. I'm sure you probably watched it as well, but
I was working and watching it.
And as we had one of our I think you may know this person, but we had Hulk Hogan come, and I thought that this was kind of like an epic moment.
Yeah,
do we have that?
well, I've already heard so much from my old Gold's Gym friends about Hulk, and I've heard, I saw him come on, so it was kind of cool.
Go ahead and roll that, Layla. This was a cool moment.
What happened last week when they took a shot
At my
at
friend,
my hero
my hero.
and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
I love it.
Still got it.
He does. Him and Ric Flair. I was watching today on a video that Ric Flair was deadlifting 405, Blake. I was like, what the junk? And he's 79
awesome,
years
man.
old. Yeah, he was
That's
struggling. I've seen Rick lift that stuff before, easier than that, but he's 79, and I'm not doing it at 66. But I saw Rick. So those old timers, yeah, they still got it.
Well,
That's so cool.
I look at those guys, and I'm also thinking about Tom, you as a bodybuilder, Blake, you as a trainer, and I'm thinking, dude, to look like that at his age, you gotta be jacked, right? You're on.
Well, you're using some PEDs.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
The Hulkster has managed to uphold, though, Mike. I mean,
Yeah, he does.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure
I'm
he does a lot of public speaking and appearances and stuff. Like, I'm sure that's still how he's paying his bills.
I'm giving him that break. I still got a
yeah,
good.
exactly.
I got a good friend, Bret Hart, and Bret and I stay in contact, and he looked like me. So
Yeah, for my childhood's sake, I'm giving him a pass. I don't want to
Yeah.
see him sucked up.
I know.
But
I know.
as I was watching the RNC, something struck out to me, And it was watching the performance by Lee Greenwood. And every time I hear that song, but especially last night, especially hearing it performed live at the RNC, gave me chills down my spine, and actually brought a tear to my eye. And the reason, and I had to think about that. I had to contemplate why is this like so profound and so impactful to me? And of course, I'm a very passionate person. Both of you guys know that. And if anybody's watching this that knows me well, you guys know I'm a very passionate person. I think you probably tell that just by watching the show. But I thought about, why is this so profound? Why is it bringing a tear to my eye? And it's because I know what we're fighting for, and I know how important the fight is. I for the future of our country, for the future of all of our children, for my family's future, for all of your guys' children's future. And I know it's the same feeling I got when I was standing at the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C., and reading the words inscribed throughout the Jefferson Memorial and the inscriptions. And we're actually going to be making some merch around that. We got some new merch coming out that is going to have some of those words on them. Blake, I showed that to you yesterday. We shared that. Go ahead and bring it up, Layla. And I'm not using this moment to bring up a commercial, but I thought about this, and I was like, and as I talked to a couple people yesterday, they're like, people are going to hate you for what you say. And as I spoke to Pat Massetti yesterday, 2 days ago, and he said the word says that they hated me. This is Jesus talking. They hated me. They're going to hate you too. So this is one of the shirts we're going to be putting out, but we're going to put out a couple more with some of these words on them. And I thought about the reason that I feel so motivated and inspired to do what we're doing here at 511, to make our voices loud and to make other people's voices loud, all the other people that we work with and the shows that we're promoting, is not because of who Donald J. Trump is, but it's because of who our creator is. And I know what Donald J. Trump stands for and what he represents, and that is everything we represent here at 511 Media, which is faith, family, and freedom. So, that it brought a tear to my eye, and my kids just getting to take that in. I think it's a moment. And I thought about this too, because I remember as a kid when Reagan was in office. Because I was younger when that happened. Blake, I don't think you were even alive.
You just dated yourself, Mike.
That's right. I won't date Tom here, but
Hey, I date myself. You don't have to worry about dating me.
you probably voted for Reagan.
I did vote for Reagan because I'll tell you why, and you should know why. Because I voted for Jimmy Carter.
Yeah,
and I voted for Jimmy Carter, and it inspired me to switch parties and vote for Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, but as I was watching that last night and sitting there with my family, with my wife and my kids, and taking that moment in, it reminded me of those moments when I was a kid and watching Ronald Reagan and watching my family talk about those moments and hearing what they were saying and hearing what they were talking about, and how that impacted me. And I remember that to this day. And I thought my kids will remember this moment, the moment of watching the RNC, the moment of the elections, and it will be impactful to their future. And we've had people say multiple times to me directly, as well as on keyboard warriors, especially keyboard warriors, you're brainwashing your kids, you're indoctrinating your kids. Well, and I will not stop saying this. It's my job to train my kids in the way they should go. So how dare you accuse me of brainwashing my kids? Because the truth is, you're just mad at me because you want to be the ones doing it with the woke ideologies and the woke agendas.
First, I love what when we grabbed lunch yesterday. You said, I want to beat the world to educating my kids.
Amen.
And at the end of the day, the principalities and powers that be, they want to influence them at an early age when they're most impressionable. So like, it inspired me. I had to take a good look. Now my kids are much younger than yours, but we need to have a plan as parents and how we're going to prepare our kids for what they're going to inevitably encounter at school, at sports, at whatever, the people that are going to be put in their lives. You were talking about your 8-year-old daughter just came home from church camp. what
Yeah.
was once considered probably a safe environment,
Yeah.
talking about, her roommate was telling her all about her own
Sexuality.
sexuality.
Yeah. There's,
Absolutely insane. And I bet you felt pretty good about her coming and telling you that because you'd already had that talk with her.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave that to chance. That's why I went home and told my wife, I was just like, we need to start making a plan for when that talk's going to happen, when it's going to take place. And I love that your family was all circled around the TV. Not only was that probably a cool moment for you because it was like reflecting how you were brought up,
Yeah.
but I think that's good preparation and diligence on the parents' part as well.
Well, and we weren't forcing them to be there. They wanted to be there.
That's everything, dude.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes to the home that you've built.
Yeah. And I speaking of, I told you about the Minecraft thing, right? Did I tell you?
Yeah.
So if you guys missed it, I think I talked about it yesterday. My son came to me. My son loves Minecraft. He's been into Minecraft since he was probably 5 years old, and now he's going to be 11 this year. He has Minecraft clothes. He has Minecraft toys. He has Minecraft Legos. He has Minecraft videos. He plays video games. He connects with his friends on Minecraft. And he came to me and he said, "Dad, they have these rainbows. Like, what is this? Why are they doing this? This is kind of weird." And I said, "I'm sorry, son. This is no longer allowed in our house." And he got mad. He broke down. He cried, and I let him have his moment because I was trying to be compassionate and understanding, but at the same time I was convicted.
Mhm.
And this is the moment that as parents we're required to be strong, because how easy would it have been for me to say, "Oh, you know what? I don't want to hurt your feelings, or I don't want you to feel like I took something away from you. It's okay. We'll have that. Just keep in mind," right? But I said, "No, we're drawing a line in the sand. I'm not allowing this into my house because this is exactly like sin. Because this is what the left and the woke ideology and the globalists want to do to our children. They want to indoctrinate them at an early age."
Yeah.
And so they do that by putting little things. And the more we take a stand, the more that they'll take a step back. Because do you remember a couple years ago, Blake, in Target when they had the rainbows everywhere? In what I affectionately dub as Shame Month, when it was everywhere, and all of the Christians and others who do not stand for those values said, "You know what? I'm going to vote with my dollar.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give my money to a woke corporation that's trying to cram something down my throat." So I said the same thing to my son about Minecraft. And when we deleted it, again, he had a hard time with it. And I said, "You don't have to throw away all your books. You don't have to throw away all your clothes. You don't have to throw away your Legos or your toys or any of those things. But we're no longer going to continue to support companies that are trying to indoctrinate our kids with values that we don't believe in." So as I explained that to him, I also took a moment to explain to him the analogy or the metaphor or whatever you want to call it of the frog in the pot of boiling water.
Yeah.
Blake, you've heard this one, right?
I was just about to talk about it.
Yeah, most
Yep.
of you guys have heard this. Go ahead, Blake. I'll let you talk about it.
Oh, well, I mean, the frog in the boiling water is just, if you put a frog in a pot, you start and you crank up the heat. Well, it doesn't go to 200 degrees immediately, right? It's gradual. It's so gradual, in fact, that the slower it happens, the less likely the frog will hop out of that thing until it's too late, right? And so ultimately, that's what they're trying to do with our kids. Normalize that stuff, desensitize them to it by the time they're 13 and probably, starting to make decisions for themselves. And they've already seen rainbows their entire life. They think that's totally normal. The blue, pink hair, like,
Yeah.
We don't have to go into, we know what they look like. Okay. But they think, hey, that's just Jessica. She's my best friend. That's just that thing that I see every night when I get on Minecraft. That's just that thing that I saw on Bluey, whatever. And it's normal. It has less of a what do you call it? It's less of an interruption to their daily life as marketing. Like, we want to pull people out of that as best we can. Well, isn't it so much more effective when it's subliminal and takes place not in a day, not in hours, but over years,
Mhm.
to the point when they're 18, they go off to college, have their first taste of freedom. Oh, that stuff's weird. And now, they can do whatever they want. I have lots of thoughts on this.
And I'm not saying that we don't love those people. I'm not
Not at
saying that we treat them differently or that we treat them badly. Not at all. That would not be the godly Christian way of doing things. However, I also believe, and we've had conversations about this, Tom, Blake, we've had conversations about this. I had a conversation with Pat Massetti the other day, which we're going to be putting that content out very, very soon. We talked about how I had listened to a sermon one time and 100% agree with this, by Pastor Jurgen Matthesius down at Awaken Church in San Diego, California. And he talked about how God is both truth and love. And if you are not telling someone the truth, you couldn't possibly be loving them, because it's easy for us to say, hey, you know what? It's okay. I accept you. I embrace you. You're fine. There's nothing wrong with this. You know, all of these things. But I would rather have somebody, and I just had a conversation with another friend of mine about this just the other day. I would rather have somebody get mad at me for what I have to tell them here, but tell them the truth, and hopefully it impact their life. Now, do it in a loving way, of course.
You have to define truth, though. Like, don't manipulate us into believing your truth.
No,
you know what I mean?
The biblical truth.
Right. Well, any kind of manipulation, regardless of what it's self-serving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't love the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So we can still love those people. I'm not trying to manipulate them in any way, and I'm not trying to get a hold of their kids at an early age where I think I have the highest likelihood of converting them to whatever I believe, right? And that's where I think it becomes evil. So that's predatory, is what that is, you know. And ultimately, if it's self-serving, and again, you're not putting the other person first, you're putting yourself and your own ideologies first, we have to raise some eyebrows. I don't care if it's, hey, I feel the same way. Let's take the LGBTQ community out of this. Tom, how do you feel about schools replacing real meat in their school lunches, and saying that and providing an upside down food pyramid to tell our kids and families what's healthy?
Mm-hmm. So true.
You know, it's the same thing. So I don't know. Take it out of our schools. Take it out from in front of our 10-year-olds. You know, in front of their TVs.
What I used as an analogy for my kids is, I was like, look, if I was to tell you, well, a little bit of drugs is okay. A little bit of pornography is okay.
Right.
A little bit of all these things that can hurt you is okay. But we don't do that. But we allow a little bit of it. It's compromise, and every single time we make a compromise, it allows more of those things back into our lives and our kids' lives. So we eliminated that from their life.
I want to go back to that shirt that you guys are rolling out with. They look sick, by the way.
Thank
you. Dude, if you're not hated by anybody and you're loved and adored by all, I'd reckon that you're probably not standing for anything either. You know, and I used to think that, man, Trump, like, the polarity, you know, him standing so far right and pissing so many people off. I go, man, that's such clever marketing. Oh, yeah. Now I think it's what we were called to be, actually, as humans. Like, you're supposed to have a belief system, convictions that move you to do things. So I would say that if you're well liked, your life probably doesn't amount to much. Probably not making that big of an impact, honestly.
Well, you know, and there again, I've said this many, many times, and I think being well liked, you can be a very kind human being, but being well liked for something that you believe in, I think, is something that we're commanded to do by Scripture, because the Word says, I shared this the other day on my morning pump. Basically, we've got to be the salt of the earth. Mm. And it talks about, if we lose our saltiness, then we're going to be no good for anything. And I always believe, just going back to, livestock, the salt lick is always by the water trough. I mean, we've always heard the story, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But when they get the water trough, you can make them thirsty. So as we can, in the marketplace, where we're at, it doesn't matter where you're at, as you can go out there and live a certain lifestyle, and somebody said, do you want to do this? Say, no, I'm not going to do that. They're going to go, huh, why? That's the logical next one. When then you get the platform to give a defense on why you believe that way. Had a great conversation with my daughter, Tessa Taylor, and my son, Danny, the other night. Both of them have great careers. My daughter, and helping her make an impact in the world today through the Daily Wire. And my son-in-law is an engineer. My other daughter is a grad counselor at a university. And they all talked about their upbringing. And I got to hear it firsthand. So I agree with both what you are saying. And then comes something, you can't isolate them from the world. You can insulate them. Isolation is a bad thing, because if you isolate children from the world, they're going to be shocked when they actually run into the things that you've been telling them aren't good. So isolation is terrible. Insulation is okay because we insulated our kids with God's word and why we do what we do. There's got to be a reason why we do what we do. And they gave instances how that helped them. My son-in-law played football at the highest level, except for the NFL, which I do. He and I talked about the other night. My daughter in tennis, my younger daughter in tennis. And they talked about how being around in the club sports, and I know, Blake, we have a lot of opinion about club sports, but how it got them to interact with other kids. And the school did too. So there again, if you're out there, don't make the mistake of isolating your kids, because homeschool kids sometimes are the most awkward kids out there. They don't know how to interact with other peer kids. So you can homeschool like Mike and LaDavia do, but then you can get your kids involved in other sports where they're around children that may think differently than them. And then they're able to explain what Mike explained to Mikey the other day. And I think they start to learn that early, so they can make it through life and they can make it through college.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and Blake, you and I have talked about homeschooling as well since
we
you brought that
homeschool
up.
also. Yeah.
I think if you are homeschooling, I especially in California, I don't see any other way to do it. But if you're homeschooling, it is important to make a point, because my kids are involved in sports and activities in church, and they work out at Blake's gym. My son is a wrestler. My daughter is going to be in gymnastics this year. So we make a point, and they're well socialized, because not every single person that they're around is a Christian. It was a little bit odd that I found that a girl came out to my daughter at church camp. However, not everybody they're around is Christian. So and Blake and I had this conversation yesterday, and I said, listen, you got to be proactive with your kids, because if you're not the one talking to them, somebody's talking to them. And you can control, I say control in a loose way. You can control the narrative in their head, or you can let somebody else do it. So, as we're kind of getting back onto the story we were talking about the RNC, and we were talking about the global IT meltdown and all the things going on there. And I know there's going to be more things that come out. It's just, if you guys are thinking, if you guys are awake, if you guys are paying attention, think about the timing of all these things: the assassination attempt, the AT&T outage, now this big global outage that's affecting many, many people, the RNC, and then now Biden's come out. And last night, I don't know if you saw this, Blake, it was all over social media. I believe it was found to be fake news, because I couldn't find it anywhere in an actual news site, but it was all over social media. And I usually try to be pretty careful on what I post on social media when it comes to stuff like this, because I don't want to be giving false information out. And I try to make a point, if I ever do give out false information, to call it out, because I don't want to be found out as a liar, because sometimes I'll share information, especially, on the show. And as we continue doing this show, I'll share information that I know to be true, or I think to be true at the time. So there is grace in that. But there was a lot circulating around, Biden has stepped down. And we all know Biden will be stepping down at some point. Whether that's before or after the elections, that's to be discovered, right? But we all know Biden will be stepping down at some point. And the big thing with him stepping down is, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. This was brought to my attention actually yesterday. Do you know that? Do you, Blake, remember Huma Abedin?
I know the name. Yeah, in bed with the Clintons, I believe.
She's like best friends with Hillary Clinton.
Democratic Party. Okay.
Yeah. So she is now engaged to Alex Soros. Y'all know who Alex Soros is?
Yeah.
The son of George Soros, the known communist. Go ahead and bring it up, Layla. So this was, I believe, on CNN, but just recently happened. George Soros' son, Alex, and she's now engaged, and granted, he's not a looker himself. She could be considered attractive by some, but she's 10 years his senior. Why is she engaged to him? Well, have you also noticed?
Well,
that Hillary Clinton's name has been circulating as a potential
Oh, yeah.
replacement for Joe Biden.
Well, that's the thing. It's like if Biden exits, who are they propping up? You know, and I'm most worried it's going to be Governor Newsom or anyone. You know what I mean? Like, name your evil dictator that like worst case scenario would take the office. But I mean, I don't want the Soros family anywhere near it. Although they're probably way closer already than we could give them credit for.
Oh, well, they control everything. So I had a conversation with Blue Davia this morning. She said, well, how come Soros doesn't just run for president or run? I said, because why does
he
he
more
have
from
to?
the shadows? Yeah.
Right. He controls all of them anyway already.
Yeah.
So you know, they're
With none of the liability.
right.
So, I mean, who wants the press for that? So, man, that's absolutely wacky. But I mean, again, are we shocked?
No.
Are we shocked?
Tom, I
hope
know
it doesn't
you had
matter.
to step out for a second, but were you able to hear the conversation?
Absolutely. And you and I talk about it all the time, Mike. There is a guy, you know, and we all know that George Soros' son's worse. We've all been told that.
Are we surprised?
Well, no. And, you know, I sent a picture over, but don't worry about pulling it up. But Tennessee joined with, I think, 13 other states, and they're requiring the reading of the Bible in school now.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Well,
awesome?
I think there's a big awakening happening across the world because you see conservatives being put back into power, and conservatives have a lot of the momentum because I see the generations, the up and coming generations are getting sick of the stuff that's been happening and stuff that's going on.
I told Tiffany today, I go, honey, what would it be like for you to teach a class on the Bible in public school? And she goes, well, I kind of did it in a roundabout way, but just to open it up and teach it from the word. Mike, I don't know a teacher that gets into teaching that doesn't want to teach the whole child. Now they may not have the same faith system that you and I and Blake have, but they would like to include that soul part in the in their teaching. They do. And my wife talks about that all the time because they know that they cannot reach that kid if they don't have all three components of the human body, mind, body, and spirit. And that's 1 Thessalonians 5:23.
Yeah. So you know, as we go forward, we know Biden's going to step down. Now, if he does it after the election, which is very unlikely, it'd be Kamala. If he does it before, there's a lot of question marks. There's Gavin, whose name has been floated a lot. There's Kamala, whose name has been floated a lot. I don't think it'll be Kamala. There is Hillary Clinton, who has recently resurfaced, and this ties to Aberdeen, these ties to Soros, this ties to Soros's money. And we don't have a lot of time left, right? So we know that there's going to be an October surprise. We know that there's going to be shenanigans that's going to happen. What it is, we don't know yet. But I guarantee you that all of this stuff with the assassination attempt, with Soros and this money, with this IT stuff going on, everybody may see this and see as, oh, you know, this is just random incident. No, it's not random. This stuff's happening for a reason, and it's all connected.
And expect more of it. It's going to get way crazier.
More and more often. And I don't know. I can't imagine what that's going to be like. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, as we talk about all these things, I want to encourage you guys, and I keep saying this, and I'm not going to stop saying it until it's not a thing anymore, until November 5th. Get out and vote. Get out and vote early. Use those mail-in ballots because there's going to be shenanigans pulled. Why do you think that there isn't a reason that all of these illegal immigrants have come into the United States? It wasn't only to try to collapse our society, and that was one of the reasons. But it was also so they could get these voters on the voter rolls. I believe it's a SAVE Act that they're working on that's already passed through the House. They're trying to get it passed in the Senate. It's going to get vetoed by President Biden if it even gets through the Senate. But it could get through the Senate. But it would be a very positive thing, regardless, because now Biden's going to have to go on record as being the one who doesn't want to stop the illegal immigrants from voting. And the illegal immigrants, by the way, if you're paying attention. And I understand it's my job to stay informed. It's not y'all's job. I think most of our viewers, most of our listeners probably stay way more informed than the average public. However, I know that there's a lot of things that go right over your head, or we don't have time to be in the news constantly all day long every day. But the immigrants aren't just coming from Mexico. They're not even just coming from Central America or South America. They're coming from China. They're coming from India. They're coming from Pakistan. They're coming from Iran. They're coming from all over the globe.
North Korea.
Many of these people.
Iraq. There again, we talked about it with Mike Bedreau yesterday, Mike. There's some bad characters. There's some bad players that has come across our border that is right now living amongst us. They are. And what is the plan? We know the plans to disrupt, because there again, we heard you. I think you brought it up yesterday, Mike. The Iraq, or the Iran plan to assassinate, I believe will be President Trump.
Well, that's for a long time.
I know.
That is news.
It's
hitting the headlines recently, but that's something that's been in play for years.
Are you guys at all surprised it took long to get such a close attempt on his life?
There again, that's what if this guy was an amateur, there's professionals here, and they're just sliding them in. And if our Secret Service is this inept for that, what are they going to let slip in these other areas?
Yeah, but I want to make a point to say, and I'm talking about getting out and voting. Don't just assume that this is going to be a landslide victory. We want it to be a landslide victory, and it looks like it's going to be a landslide victory. But there were shenanigans in 2020. There were shenanigans in 2016. There were shenanigans prior to that, and there's going to be shenanigans this year. They've been testing and trying and doing things all across the board for a long time, and they're getting, frankly, better and better at it. So if you think, oh, my vote doesn't matter because there's going to be a landslide victory, or because Trump's got all the momentum, absolutely he does. Or if you think, hey, I'm in California, so my vote doesn't matter. Your vote matters because are we going to get the electoral college votes? No, it's just not going to happen in California. But the down ballot elections matter also.
Yeah.
So
you know what's scary? You and Blake's governor is very slick. He is a slick.
I see what you did there, Tom. I won't stand for it. You're no better than us, dude.
I've been saying this. It gives me pleasure. That's why I put down Tom Touchstone.
That was slick. hey, but I want to tack on what you said. The really scary thing is, like, don't be so naive to you have to understand the American government's been toppling other governments at midnight, year round for many decades. So, like, this is completely in their wheelhouse, guys.
This is their sweet spot.
It's destroying countries from within, right? And so don't be shocked. Be very vigilant. Pray for our leaders. Pray for Donald Trump and those that are, in their sights. Obviously, we don't want physical harm to come to anybody.
I actually want to take a minute to pause right there. Blake just said something very profound and very important that I think we need to make a point to drive home. Pray for Trump. Because and we talked about this last Sunday. You say, well, Trump's been an immoral man. Trump's not a Christian. They're first of all, none of us have any place to judge a person's salvation.
I'm glad my sins are not on CNN.
However,
I agree.
It's irregardless, if that's a word, but
it is a word.
But he's the man for the hour, because God has many times used immoral, non-Christian people to do godly things. And so do you think that he can't do it again? Trump is the man that I believe has been chosen for this hour to do the work that God needs done in this country and around the globe. So let's make a point to emphasize this, because we do need to be praying for this man, because there are going to be more attempts on his life. There are going to be more people trying to come against him, and you think that they're not going to continue to try to persecute him and prosecute him? You think that what happened in Florida is just going away because Florida dismissed it? No, they're going to appeal that. We talked about that yesterday. They're going to appeal the documents case. They're going to appeal that. Now, If that happens before or after the elections, it remains to be seen. But we need to be praying for this man, because I think he's our best hope for America to get back on track and back to where it needs to be.
Come on.
I like it.
Guys, get out there, check out the Believer Summit. We dropped the on Facebook and on YouTube. We don't yet have the ability to do this from our primary control console to do it on Instagram, but the codes for Believer Summit are on Facebook. They're on YouTube. Get out there, and we're going to put out another video about this. But get out there, check out Believer Summit. Get out there and vote. Do the patriotic thing. Do the American thing. Do what God's calling you to do. And other than that, thank you. Have a great day.